Greetings friends at the Summary Club. Today we will talk about such a concept as pendulums proposed by the not unknown Vadim Zeland, the author of such modern esoteric or mystical teachings as transurfing. And now we will try to understand what pendulums are, what they are dangerous for, and most importantly, how you can use them for your development. So what is the effect of the pendulum on a person according to Zeland, and how do egregors steal our energy? No one can explain what it is, but many people can feel it, and some say they can even recognize its colors. Of course, we are not talking about the energy that powers computers and lights. We are talking about the more subtle energy found in the human body. See also the effect of color and sound on the human body and well-being on our YouTube channel. You will find this video at the end of the article. Many religions and teachings, especially Eastern ones, speak about it directly or indirectly, but it is hardly possible to confirm or deny its existence. However, if one is convinced by experience that some energy does exist in the human body, it allows one to look at reality from a different angle. Energy and attention are the main resources. Today there is a real struggle for our attention. Everywhere we can see advertisements, newspaper articles with screaming headlines, news bulletins where every word seems to be specially said to attract attention. The principle of directing attention is simple. Where our attention is directed, our energy is directed, and what happens in our lives depends on where our energy is directed. Surely everyone around you has people who always have it bad. Even in something positive they will find their poison pill. Such people just love to spend hours ranting about thieves in the government, sky-high prices, a self-styled boss, or even about some drunkard, but not about anything positive. Now pay attention to the life of such a person. Most often such people are deeply unhappy. They literally have everything falling out of their hands. They are constantly depressed. They always have some kind of problems, and often far-fetched ones at that. This is a vivid example of how the direction of attention works, and as a consequence the direction of a person's life energy in a non-positive direction. This is where V. Zeland's point about the effect of pendulums on a person's emotional state is worth considering. If a person constantly concentrates on negativity, then it is only natural that he will live in such a reality, because he doesn't notice anything else, including the opportunities to change his life that often arise. But behind all the talk about thieves in the government, people simply do not notice anything. Indeed, when is there any time to get off the couch and try to find a new job to his liking when there's another news report on TV about how the whole country has been stolen, and then you have to discuss it with someone? How the pendulums divorce us into energy. From this point of view, it is interesting to consider the concept of pendulums as suggested by Vadim Zeland in his books. From his point of view, our entire world is built on the principle of pendulums, egregors. In his work he describes the effect of the pendulum on a person, namely how an egregor can take away energy. Zeland defines the pendulum as an energy informational structure that is created by people thinking in the same direction. Anything can become a pendulum. Classic examples of pendulums are religions, political movements, soccer fans, and so on. In fact, any object or idea that evokes any emotion or action is a pendulum. From Vadim Zeland's point of view, all that is present in our lives are pendulums which we swing, in other words, feed with our energy. And the problem is not the pendulums themselves, they can be constructive. The problem is that more often than not people fall under the influence of destructive pendulums. The above example of a person who constantly concentrates on negativity is a typical case of a victim of pendulums. One way or another, we are constantly swinging these or those pendulums, giving them energy, but it is possible to use the pendulums for our own development. For example, by swinging the pendulum of health, we will become healthier each day. By swinging the pendulum of any creative activity, we will become fulfilled in that area. What does it mean to swing the pendulum? It means to direct one's attention and energy to one or another aspect of life, thus provoking a negative effect of the pendulum on one's energy. In a word, everything is clear with constructive pendulums. If we concentrate our attention and energy on something positive, we develop and our quality of life generally improves. But the problem is another one: how to get rid of the influence of negative pendulums. After all, by and large, illness and even death are also pendulums. If a person is constantly obsessed with the fear of getting sick or dying, it is quite possible that it will happen the faster he concentrates on it.
Subscribe to the Summary Club and watch short versions of the most popular and useful videos every day.
Destructive pendulums. What to do? According to Vadim Zeland, some of the most powerful destructive pendulums are negative emotions, and on these pendulums all others are built. For example, such emotions as anger, fear, envy, and so on can be the basis for many other pendulums. Vadim Zeland describes fear as the most powerful negative pendulum. In fact, we are constantly being threatened with something, from currency appreciation to swine flu, bird flu, bee flu, and God knows what kind of flu. And pay attention, the psyche of most people reacts very strongly to it. The fact is that nature itself has designed for man to react acutely to all dangers, but if in its original form it is necessary for human survival, in the current situation of constant information pressure, it turns into a kind of paranoia where a person is afraid of literally every shadow, and this is the most powerful pendulum. How does the destructive pendulum work from Vadim Zeland's point of view? The task of the pendulum is to capture attention. As soon as some destructive information, idea, feeling, situation, etc. has captured our attention, that's it. We are under the power of the pendulum. There are two methods of dealing with pendulums, which we will discuss below, but for now let's talk about what dangerous tricks pendulums use to capture our attention. Tricks of the pendulums. As Vadim Zeland describes, the main danger of pendulums is that they don't care how you feel about them. The paradox is that the pendulum receives energy not only from its adherents but also from its opponents. Let's look into how the pendulum steals energy with its action. Simply put, fanatical vegetarians, while aggressively condemning meat eating, give more energy to the meat-eating pendulum than all meat eaters combined. And alcoholism thrives, in part because fanatical teetotalers tell us everywhere about its terrible harms. Of course, no one disputes the fact that alcohol is harmful, but there is another problem. By overreacting emotionally to such a problem as alcoholism, a person feeds this pendulum with his energy, or in Zeland's words, swings the pendulum. Thus we increase the negative effect of the pendulum on the problem. After learning about the principle of pendulums, one might think that one has to fight them in order to gain freedom, but this is yet another false path. As mentioned above, any reaction to the pendulum is already a game by its rules. The only method of dealing with pendulums is the absence of any struggle, simply put, indifference. If the news of another increase in the exchange rate does not cause you any reaction, the pendulum is defeated, crushed, split into atoms. Thus, the most powerful weapon against the pendulum is indifference, impartiality. It's not about detaching ourselves from the world around us, it's about acting effectively but not reacting emotionally to negativity, because, as mentioned above, where our attention is directed, that's where we give our energy. Isn't it better to channel our energy into something positive? Failure of the pendulum. Vadim Zeland describes in more detail two methods of fighting. But remember that there really can be no active fighting with pendulums. The first is the failure of the pendulum. We can give an example of boxing. Imagine one boxer strikes another boxer, and the other boxer skillfully dodges, and the entire blow passes him by. So how do you dodge such a blow of the pendulum? Very simple. Well, not exactly simple in practice, but the principle is simple. We just do not react to the pendulum's provocation. Do you remember when you were a kid? When we told our parents about a classmate who was always picking on us, what was the advice? Something like ignore him and he'd get tired of it. And oddly enough, it's great advice that we didn't think we had when we were kids, and it works pretty well with destructive pendulums too. Here is a simple secret of Zeland's struggle with the effect of the pendulum on a person. If you do not react emotionally to an irritant, not only do you not give energy to the pendulum, but the opposite process occurs. The pendulum begins to give its energy to you. The pendulum will naturally use more and more tricks. The main thing is to remain calm, and sooner or later the energy of the pendulum will run out, and it will leave you alone. This is the principle of dealing with psychotraumatic situations suggested by Vadim Zeland, but there is also a second method. Pendulum shaking. It's not always possible to make a brick face and not react. In fact, if someone decided to kick the dust out of your clothes after forgetting to take them off you can't just ignore it, but knowing the way in which egregors can take people's energy, we can resort to another measure. The second method of dealing with the pendulum is to extinguish the pendulum. In this case we already react to the pendulum, but we react non-standardly, i.e. we break the script of the pendulum. Here too there are two ways, the rough way and the loyal way. The coarse method implies a sharp, unexpected reaction to the pendulum. There is a good example in modern literature. Three hooligans met a boxer in a back alley and insistently recommended that he share his money, to which he replied, "Now, guys, I had a $3 bill somewhere." These words were followed by a blow to the jaw that knocked one of the hooligans to the ground. The other two were in a stupor, and the boxer muttered, wait, there was a $3 somewhere," and defiantly rummaged in his pocket. A few seconds later, a blow followed, which just as surely knocked out the second hunter for easy prey. The third finally realized what was happening and, coming out of his stupor, ran away. Amid the boxer's shouts, "Where did you run to? I found the three." This is a prime example of crude pendulum quenching and can understandably only be used in extreme cases. In other less urgent situations, it is better to use a more lenient method, if possible, without the use of violence. This can be humor, sarcasm, or simply inappropriate behavior. The simplest but very effective method, known since the time of Jesus Christ, is to start apologizing suddenly to the person who is giving us a hard time. That way we can suddenly swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. In most cases, it confuses the attacker so much that he quickly forgets the essence of the quarrel. By the way, you can even notice how the aggressor literally melts before your eyes. All the energy of his aggression, all his determination disappears somewhere. This is an example of extinguishing the pendulum. You have extinguished his energy with your actions, which did not fit into the scenario of the situation and thus defeated the pendulum. In general, the most effective method of responding to unfounded and absurd claims or insults is to agree and apologize. A person who is aggressive expects a response. And it is enough for him to hear something like, "Yes, you are absolutely right," and you will see what confusion and bewilderment will spread over his face, and his tongue will become slurred. You can even observe nature. Remember, as a child, if you touch a bug or take it in your hand, it immediately falls down with its legs up, pretending to be dead. In the end, we leave it alone because it's no fun to play with a dead bug. Even bugs know how to extinguish the pendulum. Why don't we learn that too? Of course, in this case you should not be an infantile bug, but it is still worth trying to learn to use the most advanced and effective techniques of psychology, proven effective thousands of years of practice, on the basis of which entire teachings and even religions are invented. This is the end of our topic of Zeland's work on the effect of the pendulum on a man. We have tried to understand how egregors manage to take away a man's energy. Well, and next time we will additionally give a bonus describing in more detail the easiest and most effective way to quench open aggression on the street or in a verbal altercation in order not to result in physical aggression, as well as many other interesting psychological know-how on how to behave in such conflict situations. And on our YouTube channel you can find many useful and interesting videos on how to overcome laziness, get rid of guilt, and even learn to dream properly. And friend, don't forget to subscribe to the Summary Club for becoming more successful, educated, kinder and wiser every day. Save hundreds of hours and dollars spending on boring regular education. Feel free to write your opinions and questions about each video. We read all the comments. In addition, go to our official website where you can find reading materials or watch other videos on channel and links in the description. All the best.